Hello and welcome to Washington Exec's video series. I'm Amanda Ziadeh, Senior Writer with Washington Exec, and today I'm joined by Josh Jackson, Senior Vice President with SAIC. Thank you so much for joining us today, Josh.
It's great to be here, Amanda. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So today we're picking your brain about digital transformation in defense and how we need a holistic approach. So you wrote a very detailed blog post about this on SAIC's website, which we will link to for our viewers. But I wanted to ask, in your opinion, what is a holistic approach to digital transformation? What is needed besides technology? And do you have any advice on areas of focus for those organizations beginning their transformation journey?
Yeah. No, I do. I have some thoughts. So you hear a lot about digital transformation, right? What it is, what it isn't. I guess I've been involved in various forms of digital transformation for over 20 years now. I got my start back with something that used to be called Joint Forces Command, looking at futures and doing wargaming using large-scale models and simulations. And to keep it simple, I break it down into two parts: digital transformation. So the first part is digitization, right? And that's nothing new, right? It's really existed since the advent of the computer. And the first principles of that go back even farther than that, to the binary mathematical systems, right? But fundamentally, it's about enabling information to be stored, processed, transmitted by computers, right? The challenging dimension that we're grappling with today really is the exponentially increasing level of connectivity between all of those devices, as well as producers and consumers of that digital information, and everything that's associated with that, right? The other part of digital transformation is transformation itself, right? And again, something that's been around for a very, very long time. And in my mind, in simple terms, right, I see transformation as fundamentally changing core aspects of something that you're doing, right? And it could be about organization, or it could be about processes or outcomes. And when I talk about transformation, it's really all elements, right? So, processes, systems, styles, peoples, norms, etc. And it's really, when I talk about outcomes, it's really what are you trying to achieve with that transformation, right? Whether it's supporting a mission, or business objectives, or economic or political objectives, or social objectives, right? So to me, holistic transformation looks at both parts, right? Both the digital part and the transformation part. And too often we're fascinated with digital technology, and I am as well, right? I love it. And it has a lot of promise when it comes to transformation. But if we fail to look at kind of both dimensions and the changes required to support that, the transformation effort will fail, right? And data is pretty clear about that, right? 50 to 70%, depending on what source you look at, of digital transformation efforts fail to achieve their intended results, and that's because of that. So kind of what do you need to increase success? Right? I think it boils down to looking holistically, right? Getting back to your question. So starting with the why, right? What are you seeking? What problem are you trying to solve? And what mission are you trying to support, right? And then secondly, looking at, what kind of transformation are you trying to achieve to enable those outcomes, right? Is it operational transformation? Are you seeking to do things better, faster, cheaper? Is it some sort of model transformation where you're doing something in a fundamentally different way, but achieving that same outcome? Maybe changing your delivery model or the way you support a mission. Or is it really strategic transformation where you're just wholesale changing everything you're doing, and maybe even your very reason for your organization's existence? And that's the most dramatic change in transformation, to achieve a mission or a business outcome. And then, the third component really is, right, how do you answer that transformation question with enabling technology and other fundamental changes to your business, right? Technology can enable, it can accelerate, it can eliminate or change or shift an approach to transformation. But at the end of the day, it's still transformation, right? And those second and third pieces, right, the transformation itself and the technology, it's an iterative approach, right? One feeds off of the other, and you have to look at both simultaneously and holistically. And to me, that's what the holistic transformation journey is all about, is looking holistically at what you're trying to achieve, in an organization, and how can you leverage both standard transformational approaches with technology to enable that. You miss any one of those dimensions and you're doomed to failure, I think.
And to set the stage a bit, how would you describe the current state of digital transformation in the defense space? And is it behind or at the promised pace?
Yeah, so it's always going to be a continual evolution within the defense space, right? As threats evolve and the globe continues to be more and more interconnected, right? We as a nation and our national security apparatus have to continue to transform, right? So it's not something that we're ever going to achieve, and I don't think anybody that's in the defense space, right, will ever be satisfied that we've arrived and we've achieved some level of transformation, because there's always going to be so many dimensions of innovation that need to simultaneously occur, right, to address those evolving threats and just the global connectedness that we're trying to deal with. So while I don't think we'll ever be satisfied, I'm actually happy about progress on a few fronts. So the first thing I think about is, right, the DoD released a digital modernization strategy about a year ago, right, and it talked about its goals and objectives. It's really about its mission-driven objectives, and its strategy is really supporting the mission of the Defense Department. And it really talks about how you can use information as a strategic asset. So I like that. I also like the DoD's digital engineering strategy, and it talks about kind of the fundamental shifts in engineering practices as digital platforms increase. So I'm encouraged by that. I also like the fact that the Defense Department is really stretching its acquisition apparatus, right? Looking at ways to enable rapid access to innovation, non-traditional approaches, right? Tapping into startup ecosystems. I like things like what the Navy's doing with Naval X and tech bridges, right? Those are great examples of how the DoD is transforming acquisition to enable digital transformation. And the third thing I like is that, you know, the defense industry has become more agile, right? For example, at SAIC, we're participating in several startup ecosystems to act as kind of a bridge from commercially viable and focused startups that want to play and solve government problems. And you know, and what you're seeing a lot of now is, instead of like new plants and new factories and facilities, you're seeing software factories pop up all around the country, right? Some physical, some virtual, right? So I think those are kind of three important positive things that I'm seeing that are leading to transformation within the defense space.
Yeah, and expanding on those, what are some major digital transformation trends you're seeing in defense, tools, technologies, practices, and procedures that are worth focusing on to achieve digital transformation?
Yeah, no, that's great. There's a lot going on, and again, I'll kind of start with some technology, but I just want to underscore, right, what I said before, that technology alone is not the critical ingredient to digital transformation. But when I think about a few key things that are really exciting, so looking at cyber, right? So almost every day, certainly every week, you're seeing novel things, both from a threat perspective as well as an adaptive solution perspective to address those threats. And that's not going to change in the next few years, right? So we've seen the rise in the adoption of zero trust architectures and environments to ensure that data, which is our most prized and valuable asset, is protected. And I think we'll see more of that in the future. Data and analytics, right? You don't have to go very far to see how that is being changed on a weekly basis also within the defense space, right? And it's key to some fundamental transformations needed across defense. I think one of the more interesting discussions that's going on right now is the level of trust that we have and should have with machines that are executing artificial intelligence, leading to, you know, critical command and control decisions. So I think explainable artificial intelligence is really something that's starting to emerge as a key part of that solution, as well as the discussion. Digital engineering is another area where there's a lot going on within the Defense Department. You know, DoD published their digital engineering strategy, right? They're talking about rapid adoption of digital technologies to support engineering practices across the department. So I think not only within government, but also within industry, we've seen an uptick in digital engineering practices. One of the things that I'm most excited about is kind of the modular open systems approaches, right? And using ontologies really so you can better translate across system of systems, right? That are complex, right? We know that complexity of systems is just going to increase exponentially over the next few years, and we need to be able to address that. So, but again, I'd be remiss if I didn't kind of underscore my belief that technology is certainly an important element, but at the end of the day, holistic transformation is really the proper alchemy of understanding the mission, right? Driving fundamental change in your organization, which starts at the top, and then leveraging and technology so you can enable that transformation.
Well, there's certainly a lot to unpack here, so we really appreciate you, sharing these key points with us today. Thank you so much.
Yes, yes, you're welcome.